Good morning. We're back on the East Coast now. We're out of Las Vegas. It was a long week, and I think our bodies are still recovering from all the walking and talking, but it was nevertheless good. So we did a treatise on white magic yesterday, and we're back on to initiation human and solar today, and we're in chapter 7, and we're talking about the probationary path now. So we went through the hierarchy and the Lodge of Masters, and what their function is, and now we're getting into more of an individual aspect of this that deals directly with many of those here on the physical plane, or many lives should be prepared for this at this point. So let's go ahead and get in here. This should be very interesting, and it should just continue to get interesting from the individual's perspective. So, preparation for initiation, and that's what the probationary path essentially is. The probationary path precedes the path of initiation or holiness, and marks that period in the life of a man when he definitely sets himself on the side of the forces of evolution and works at the building of his own character. He takes himself in hand, cultivates the qualities that are lacking in his disposition, and seeks with diligence to bring his personality under control. We can say at this point that we start to be aware more of ourselves and our actions and how to control them. He is building the causal body with deliberate intent, filling any gaps that may exist and seeking to make it a fit receptacle for the Christ principle. The analogy between the prenatal period in the history of the human being and that of the development of the indwelling spirit is curiously interesting. And if Master DK says it's curiously interesting, it should be definitely looked at with from a deeper perspective. So I'll read that again. The analogy between the prenatal period in the history of the human and that of the development of the indwelling spirit is curiously interesting. We might look at it this way. One, the moment of conception corresponding to that of individualization. 2, 9 months gestation corresponding to the wheel of life. And 3, the first initiation corresponding to the birth hour. So these cycles really, once we and this is so true, we as neophytes or whatever you want to call us, we learn about these cycles, and then as above, so below, and the law of correspondences, and we really can see the bigger picture in this. It's really amazing. They're always there. It seems to always apply, and when given credence, we can find it. It begins to make sense. The probationary path corresponds to the latter period of gestation, to the building in the heart of the babe in Christ. At the first initiation, this babe starts on the pilgrimage of the path. First initiation simply stands for commencement, or stands simply for commencement, sorry. A certain structure of right living, thinking, and conduct has been built up. That form we call character. It is now to be vivified and indwelt. Thackeray has well described this process of building in the words so often quoted. Sow a thought and reap an action, sow an action and reap a habit, sow a habit and reap character, so character and reap destiny. And that's true, there is a lot going on in there. And as soon as I started reading that, I was considering that energy follows thought as well, which is a little bit deeper in the Ageless Wisdom teachings. The immortal destiny of each and all of us is to attain the consciousness of the higher self, and subsequently that of the divine spirit. When the form is ready, when Solomon's temple has been built in the quarry of the personal life, then the Christ life enters, and the glory of the Lord overshadows his temple. The form becomes vibrant. Therein lies the difference between theory and making that theory part of oneself. One can have a perfect image or picture, but it lacks life. The life can be molded or modeled on the divine as far as may be. It may be an excellent copy, but lacks the indwelling Christ principle. The germ has been there, but it has lain dormant. Now it is fostered and brought to the birth, and the first initiation is attained. Whilst a man is on the probationary path, he is taught principally to know himself, to ascertain his weaknesses, and to correct them. He is taught to work as an invisible helper at first, and for several lives is generally kept at this kind of work. Later, as he makes progress, he may be moved to more selected work. He is taught the rudiments of the divine wisdom and is entered into the final grades in the hall of learning. He is known to a master and is in the care for definite teaching of one of the disciples of that master, or, if of rare promise, of an initiate. So we can see in that this is not a short, quick kind of a thing. It says for several lives. He's taught to work as an invisible helper at first for several lives. Now, who are we talking about? What are we talking about here? How does this work? Is there a governing kind of a thing where we're not going to be going too much deeper? So the unfoldment is really perfect, right? It takes time to get to learn things, and it takes time for that learning to be assimilated. And although it may not be ardent truths and really amazing, beautiful, divine wisdoms, it's all very important and part of the process and part of the path. So the first, we're saying here, it's going to take more than one life. Classes are held by initiates of the first and second degrees for accepted disciples and those on probation between the hours of 10 and 5 every night in all parts of the world, so that the continuity of the teaching is complete. And that's what we're saying. There's a continuity of teaching, and it's really the unfolding is really apparently perfect. They gather in a hall of learning, and the method is much the same as in the big universities. Classes at certain hours, experimental work, examinations, and the gradual moving up and onward as the tests are passed. A number of the egos on the probationary path are in the department that is analogous to the high school. Others have matriculated and are in the university itself. Graduation results when initiation is taken and the initiate passes into the hall of wisdom. This really does show that things down here or out here, however you want to look at it, they are a reflection of the things above. That's really a key to this. Is there may be more of a distorted type of reflection, and they may not come out as, be expressed as, as nearly as beautifully. But nevertheless, it's a reflection. Advanced egos and the spiritually inclined who are not yet on the probationary path attend instructions from disciples, and on occasions, large classes are conducted for their benefit by initiates. Their work is more rudimentary, though occult from a worldly standpoint, and they learn under supervision to be invisible helpers. The invisible helpers are usually recruited from amongst the advanced egos. The very advanced and those on the probationary path and nearing initiation work more frequently in what might be termed departmental work, forming a group of assistants to the members of the hierarchy. And this, these things start to sound like a university that we're used to, talking about down here. Methods of teaching. The three departments of instruction watch over three parts of man's development. First, instruction is given tending to the disciplining of the life, the growth of character, the development of the microcosm along cosmic lines. The man is taught the meaning of himself. He comes to know himself as a complex, complete unit, a replica in miniature of the outer world. In learning the laws of his own being comes comprehension of the self and a realization of the basic laws of the system. Secondly, instruction is given as to the macrocosm, the amplification of his intellectual grip of the working of the cosmos, information as to the kingdoms of nature, teaching as to the laws of those kingdoms, and instruction as to the working of those laws in all kingdoms and on all planes is given him. He acquires a deep fund of general knowledge, and when he reaches his own periphery, he is met by those who lead him on to encyclopedic knowledge. When he has attained the goal, he may not know every single thing that there is to be known in all three worlds, but the way to know, the sources of knowledge, and the reservoirs of information are in his hand. A master can at any time find out anything on any possible subject without the slightest difficulty. Thirdly, instruction is given in what might be termed synthesis. This information is only possible as the intuitional vehicle coordinates. It is really the occult apprehension of the law of gravitation or attraction. The basic law of this, the second solar system, with all its corollaries. The disciple learns the meaning of occult cohesion and of that internal unity which holds the system as a homogeneous unit. The major part of this instruction is usually given after the third initiation, but a beginning is made early in the training. This is very, very interesting stuff. And now we're on to masters and disciples. Disciples and advanced egos on the probationary path receive instructions at this particular time for two special purposes. A, to test out their fitness for special work lying in the future, the type of work that being known only to the guides of the race. They are tested for aptitude in community living with a view to drafting the suitable ones into the colony of the sixth subrace. They are tested for various lines of work, many incomprehensible to us now, but which will become ordinary methods of development as time progresses. The masters also test for those in whom the intuition has reached a point of development that indicates a beginning of the coordination of the Buddhic vehicle, or to be exact, has reached a point where molecules of the seventh subplane of the Buddhic plane can be discerned in the aura of the ego. When this is so, they can go ahead with confidence in the work of instruction, knowing that certain imparted facts will be understood. Just beautiful. It's amazing. B, instruction is given at this time to a special group of people who have come into incarnation at this critical period of the world's history. They have come in all at the same time throughout the world to do the work of linking up the two planes, the physical and astral, via the etheric. This sentence is for serious consideration, for it covers the work that a number of the newer generation have come to do. In this linking up of the two planes, people are required who are polarized in their mental bodies, or if not polarized there, are nevertheless well-rounded out and balanced, and can therefore work safely and with intelligence in this type of work. It necessitates primarily people in whose vehicles can be found a certain proportion of atomic subplane matter, so that direct communication can be effected between the higher and the lower via the atomic cross-section of the causal body. This is not easy to explain clearly, but a consideration of the diagram and a study in consciousness by Miss Besant, page 27, may be helpful in explaining some matters that are apt to puzzle. And I do have that book, and it is a fantastic book, and I will see if I can't get that, that diagram linked to this video. So check in the notes. I will attempt to do that. We recognize two things in pondering the subject of the masters and their disciples. First, that in the hierarchy, nothing is lost through failure to recognize the law of economy. Every expenditure of force on the part of a master or teacher is subjected to wise foresight and discrimination. Just as we do not put university professors to teach the beginners, so the masters themselves work not individually with men until they have attained a certain stage of evolution and are ready to profit by their instruction. You know, and I've been told that they're just incredibly busy as well, especially at this time. Incredibly busy. Secondly, we must remember that each of us is recognized by the brilliance of his light. This is an occult fact, and this is honestly, this is something that we should really try to allow to sink in. How are we known by the hierarchy, or by the teachers, by the guides, by the masters? How are we known by them? And it's pretty simple. It's by the brilliance of our light. And we start to hear things like, as the light flickers, and being able to, having the ability to hold steady in the light, and many other things like that. And if and that's why Jesus said something to the effect of, if thine eye be single, the whole body be filled with light. This is something that we cannot see. You don't walk around and we're not known by our light to other humans, but it would make complete sense that with advanced vision and coming from from different perspectives, we would be seen by our light. This is an occult fact. The finer the grade of matter built into our bodies, the more brilliantly will shine forth the indwelling light. Light is vibration, and through the measurement of vibration is fixed the grading of the scholars. Hence, nothing can prevent a man's progress forward if he but attends to the purification of his vehicles. The light within will shine forth with ever greater clarity as the refining process goes on, until when atomic matter predominates, great will be the glory of that inner man. We are all graded, therefore, if it may be so expressed, according to the magnitude of the light, according to the rate of vibration, according to the purity of the tone and the clarity of the color. Who our teacher is depends therefore upon our grading. Similarity of vibration holds the secret. We are frequently told that when the demand is forceful enough, the teacher will appear. When we build in the right vibrations and attune ourselves to the right key, nothing can prevent our finding the master. Groups of egos are formed. So groups of egos are formed according to their ray, according to their subray, and according to their rate of vibration. They are also grouped for purposes of classification. One, as egos according to the egoic ray, and two, as personalities according to the subray, which is governing the personality. Now, what I'm about to say right now may take some of us by surprise, because let me just say it, all are graded and charted, right? So our vibrations are known, and all of the implications of that are known because as I've been told, and we know, all is one. So there's no, I don't want to say there's no escaping it. That's not the right word. There's no getting around it, that all is one. And if we're looking for, to do things of an individual nature or to do whatever we want, it will be known. It is known. And we learn that as time goes on, that it's very interesting, that we can be known by this light, and the implications of that light are probably more telling than being here. And there's no need. The fluctuations in vibration and such can tell more than what we can here. So all are graded and charted. The masters have their halls of records with a system of tabulation incomprehensible to us owing to its magnitude and its necessary intricacies, wherein these charts are kept. They are under the care of a Chohan of a ray, each ray having its own collection of charts. These charts, being in many sections, dealing with incarnate, discarnate, and perfected egos, are again all under the care of subordinate guardians. The Lapika lords, with their vast band of helpers, are the most frequent users of these charts. Many discarnate egos awaiting incarnation or having just left the earth sacrificed their time in heaven to assist in this work. These halls of records are mostly on the lowest levels of the mental plane and the highest of the astral, as they can be there most fully utilized and are most easily accessible. Initiates receive instruction directly from the masters or from some of the great devas or angels. These teachings are usually imparted at night in small classes or individually, should the occasion warrant it, in the master's private study. The above applies to initiates in incarnation or on the inner planes. If on causal levels, they receive instruction at any time deemed advisable direct from the master to the ego on causal levels. Disciples are taught in groups in the master's ashram or classroom at night if in incarnation. So you're busy when you at night when we're sleeping. from these regular gatherings, in order to receive direct teaching from the master, a disciple, for some specific reason, may be called to the master's study for a private interview. This occurs when a master wishes to see a disciple for commendation, warning, or to decide if initiation is desirable. The major part of a disciple's tuition is left in the hands of some initiate or more advanced disciple who watches over his younger brother and is responsible to the master for his progress, handing in regular reports, and karma is largely the arbiter of this relation. So there's so much going on that we just have absolutely no idea about. And it's a great thing too, to know that. It's not something that we can have in the forefront of our of our daily life, because it's not our experience, but it's, we can know these things are taking place. And maybe we've had certain experiences that have, that will allow us to know that these things are true. Maybe you're working with somebody who is guiding and helping, and or maybe you've had such a vivid encounter at night that these things are true, right? Or have had other what we call miracles or mystical things happen, and it's just all too amazing. It's just amazing. Just at present, owing to the great need in the world, a slightly different policy is being pursued, and intensified training is being given to some disciples by some masters who have not hitherto taken pupils. The press of work on the masters who do take disciples being so great, they have delegated some of their most promising pupils to some other masters, drafting them into small groups for a brief period. The experiment is being tried in intensifying the teaching and of subjecting disciples, not initiates, to the frequent strong vibration of a master. Oh, that's very interesting. The experiment is being tried of intensifying the teaching and of subjecting disciples, not initiates, to the frequent strong vibration of a master. This involves risk. It involves risk, but if the experiment proves successful, will tend to the greater assisting of the race, and we can assume that it would speed up some processes along the way. Now, yeah, we've been, and that's such an amazing thing, because this vibration and these vibrations can really knock you off your socks, and they can, and if the life is not organized properly, then we know that energy follows thought. And when you have a lot of energy and your thoughts are going in a certain direction, it's very easy to see how with much more energy that it's going to pick up speed in that direction faster. And it will, this energy, this vibration will be even more powerful in the direction that we're going. So in that lies the danger. And it is a real danger. So the pure, the mind really must be at a certain place, because we can't have a bunch of highly, energetic, crazies, for lack of better terms. You would never want that. That would make things would become a big giant mess on Earth if all of a sudden, you started giving, let's say, someone with, some ugly thoughts, the energy of a master or of a high initiate or something, it would turn to selfishness very quickly. So that's why this process is so cued in and mathematical and graded, to the point where it has to be known that there are no dangers left when a student or a disciple or a probationer, whoever receives the energy. I hope that makes sense. I'd be happy to, that's something that, with some experience, we can be talked about, and it can be seen in our lives very easily. There's been times where I hadn't had the right direction, and then all of a sudden it's there's kind of a I don't want to say manic, but a fanatical or manic move to where you can destroy yourself essentially, and then you kind of have to back off and let that inertia halt, and that's a pain. It can be more of a painful process. And then so we learn these things through hard lessons too. Very interesting. So that's the probationary path in a nutshell. There's much more to learn in the other books that go much deeper. However, this book is given a great overview. And so we just finished chapter 7, and tomorrow we will go into discipleship in chapter 8. And a disciple is one who is essentially pledged to serve humanity, right? And cooperate with the plans. And it says here, develop the powers of the ego and to expand his consciousness until he can function on the 3 planes in the 3 worlds and in the causal body. So this is getting much deeper here. All right, we're going to leave it there for the day. And we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.